This is 21 Questions, the vlog that poses 21 questions to real estate professionals. I am Alex Brosey, Windermere Property Manager with JMW Group. My guest today is Kyle Williams of IPX 1031. Kyle has been in the real estate industry for about 15 years. He's done all kinds of cool brokerage stuff with REITs and obviously the 1031 exchange. He's well connected with attorneys and accountants, so we're excited to have him on the show and answer some questions. Kyle, welcome to 21 Questions. Appreciate you being on board.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
My pleasure. So let's kind of kick things off here. Tell us, who are you, what do you do, why do you do it, and how long have you been doing your 1031 stuff?
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Williams. I work for IPX 1031, a division of Fidelity National Financial. So if you've worked with like Ticor, Chicago Title, Fidelity Title, Lawyers, Commonwealth, Alamo, there's a whole host of title and escrow companies. We're actually their exchange division, so that's awesome. I started out actually on the investment side, and then we got into like some private placements and REITs, and then it just naturally morphed into me going into 1031s. But yeah, it's been about 15 years or so. So you know, I have investment property. I own my own home again. I'm a big fan of real estate, and you know, you and I met at a networking group, and yeah, I met a lot of great people through you that have really helped me in my business. And you know, you're a connected person, and that's helped me. So I'm glad we linked up for this, Alex.
Yeah, me too. And you know, it's one of my favorite things about real estate is how interconnected we can all be.
Yes.
So it's always been really fun to try to be at the center of that and link people up and try to make stuff happen. So with that being said, you know, you mentioned a lot of the Fidelity umbrella. Is there anyone kind of like specific on your team that you work with that kind of helps you get your job done, or are you like a one-man show?
Yeah, so we have a team of coordinators that assist with paperwork and the like, because a lot of my day in normal times is doing like clock hour classes, presentations and stuff. So there's just a ton of paperwork that I can't get to. So I have a team of awesome coordinators that assist with paperwork and the like, and really I would call them the brains behind the operation.
That's awesome. And I know I have the same thing, you know, office admins and accountants, and there's people that are really integral to what we do to make sure that we can really try to be at the top of our game for our clients. So I can totally, you know, relate to that. You know, obviously you're in the 1031, that's kind of your main gig. I know a little bit about 1031. So is there a specialty that you kind of cater towards with 1031, or is it you're just strictly, you know, the tax code really well and that's just what you do?
Yeah, so 1031s are pretty niche. I mean, there's definitely qualified intermediaries. So what we do as a qualified intermediary is our principal job is to hold funds. So we're a disinterested party. So legally, we can't be the client's attorney, their CPA, their financial advisor, have any sort of relationship with them over the last 2 years legally. So our job, again, at the end of the day, is to hold funds in a safe and secure manner. There's some qualified intermediaries that might focus on commercial or might try to do a lot of residential deals and stuff like that. We don't have a specific focus like that. We do a lot of commercial. We do a lot of residential. We're actually the largest QI in the country. So there's a lot of different sides of business to what we do and who we work with.
Okay. So, and I kind of relate to that as well. You know, obviously we represent property owners, and I don't want to pigeonhole myself and say, hey, you know, I want to focus only on commercial. I'm not interested in your condo. So obviously there's a huge benefit there for how you can help your clients, because it doesn't matter, you know, really what they're trying to exchange. You can be that qualified intermediary for them, which is huge.
Yep, absolutely.
So the 1031 is as complex as it is. It's simple in the sense of, you know, what makes it successful. You know, either you did the exchange or you didn't. But can you kind of dive into that a little bit? What does a successful experience for your clients look like? And really, what is success, maybe a little bit more in depth, in the 1031 exchange process?
Yeah, so success would be finding a new property after they've sold their property, but finding a new property that works for them. People have all sorts of different goals. Maybe it's cash flow, maybe it's appreciation, maybe they want to start a new depreciation schedule, any number of goals that the client has. But a successful exchange would be where someone finds a property that genuinely works for them, that they don't just find a property that, well, this will suffice. They find a property that they're actually moving up. They're going to improve their cash flow, whatever their goal is. So that's ideally, to me, is when we help clients, we want to make sure that they find something that works for them, and not only works for them, but helps them hit their goals.
I mean, I don't think there's a better answer than that, because in the real estate investing space, what's really important is understanding your goal. What is it that you want to accomplish? I think a lot of people end up in this place where, just like you said, well, this kind of works. It kind of pencils. It's fine.
Yep.
And if you talk to anybody, like a retirement specialist, somebody who's helping you plan out your IRAs and stuff like that, it's fine isn't where they want to get you, right? There's a number, a goal, a thing that they're trying to accomplish. It's really important that people recognize that doesn't change with the 1031. You want to have, if you want to be successful, you want to have a real goal that, you're working to establish. So we kind of answered this, having, this kind of exchange, but what do you think is the number one issue with 1031 exchanges? How do you mitigate that? And what is it that you do or your team does that's maybe a little bit different from, other QIs?
Sure. So the number one issue exchangers have in our market is finding new property. As you know, Alex, like you've been to other places around the country, other markets. Omaha, Nebraska functions a lot differently than Bellevue, Washington, right?
Yeah.
So because clients are under timelines where they have 45 days to identify and let us know in writing what they intend on purchasing, a month and a half isn't really a long time in this market, because they can get outbid on a dozen properties. That's not out of the, that's not uncommon for that to happen. So the number one issue is clients being able to find new property in a relatively short amount of time. I tell clients the way that we would mitigate that, and I tell all clients this, is that as soon as you're under contract on your sale, say it's a 30-day close, start looking for new property then. Give yourself an extra 30 days, because it's going to be a problem when people drag their feet and they wait until they're 35 days into an exchange and they only have 10 days left, and then they call and want an extension, and you have to say, well, there's really no extensions for 1031s. That's it. So the most I can do is encourage them, start looking for new property as soon as you can. Once you're under contract, get out there. Work with your agent and broker, find what you can. Don't drag your feet on this.
Yep. And I think, especially as you mentioned, going to these meetups and meeting these people and being well connected, you might have somebody to say, hey, I know you're looking in Tacoma. I know you're looking for a triplex. I actually have a buddy who's an agent down there, or, go to this real estate meetup because I know these guys are doing these off-market properties and that kind of stuff. So it's a huge benefit for anybody who does go through you guys to use a 1031. It doesn't just stop at Kyle. Kyle's got connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a weird point of contention right now. The world is in flux, and obviously, Seattle is no stranger to that. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, how are you looking at the real estate market right now? Obviously, there's no surprise that we're low on inventory. But along with that, what kind of changes do you see coming for you, doing 1031 exchanges? What is that going to do to your clients? And really, is that going to change the tax code? Do you think there's anything that's going to alter with 1031s?
So let's look at the second part of that question. So 1031 has been under fire for some time. With the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that went into effect January 1st, 2018, there was a lot of talk of, before that initially got signed into law, that they would get rid of 1031s, that every few years someone in Congress or some senator is going to stumble upon 1031 and say, hey, what is this? This looks like a tax loophole. That's kind of short-sighted, because at the end of the day, people are reinvesting and stimulating the economy. And PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big four accounting firms, did a study a few years ago, and they said if if 1031s were to be eliminated for real estate, I think they said it would have a negative net impact of like 160 or 170 billion on the economy. And so much of our real estate world is derived from 1031s. Like, you may have a broker that's never done a 1031, but they've been a part of a 1031. Maybe they were on the other side of the transaction, or maybe they bought a property that was sold from a 1031. So 1031 it's always going to be on the chopping block, so to speak. We definitely encourage everyone that if you're one of those people that writes to their senator or congressperson, let them know that you appreciate 1031s and you're in the real estate world. Stuff like that actually goes a long way. But with regards to our current market, I mean, there's a lot of tragedy right now in the world and stuff like that. But I don't think that really like geopolitical events are going to have a huge effect on our real estate market, because there's always going to be tech jobs in Seattle. People like Seattle. It's a beautiful city. People like the East Side. It's beautiful in its own way too. I don't think any of that's changing, but what I think is changing, if you look at year-over-year numbers, like Snohomish County has really grown, but like Whatcom, Skagit, Eastern Washington, Spokane's really taken off. Pierce County's on fire, Thurston County. And what COVID did is really showed employers that their employees can work from home, maybe not every day, but 2, 3, 4 days a week, check in once a week, and they don't need all that office space. So I think long term, we're going to see people move from the suburbs where, they get a starter home in Kirkland for $850,000. Instead, they buy a nice house with 3 or 4 acres in Yelm or outside Olympia or something, or up near Bellingham, where they can afford more house in an awesome town, awesome neighborhood, and they don't have to come in every day. They don't need to pay exorbitant amounts, much higher prices per square foot on the East Side or in Seattle. But again, there's always going to be high-paying jobs, so that's not going to go anywhere. It's just, I think we're going to see a lot of growth, maybe more growth outside King County than we have in the past.
Yeah, I totally agree. I basically grew up in Everett, and I've watched that place. I mean, it's a 180. The North Everett, kind of the downtown area. They've got these plans for this kind of megaplex shopping and movie theater, and there's a really cool walk bridge to the ocean out there. So, I mean, I've grown up and watched it happen. I'm excited for it to continue happening. I love Seattle. I love going downtown, but not only with COVID and wanting to be distanced from people, but just my personal interest. I love to be outside. I love to go on hikes, be around water and that you can actually swim in. I love the Puget Sound, but I would never swim in it. So, so to have that flexibility to say, hey, I don't have to be in Seattle every day. Maybe I can go 2 times, 3 times a week. And I could live in Bellingham. I could live in Concrete, where I have the river in my backyard, right? So
absolutely.
Definitely interesting but exciting times for us over in Western Washington.
Yep, absolutely.
So Kyle, at this part, I have no idea how 1031 exchanges work. What do you guys cost?
So a 1031, most exchanges are less than $1,000. And that would cover your sale in one purchase. Where we would hang our hat, though, as the exchange division for Fidelity National Financial, would be on security and protections. 1031s, and most investors, most agents and brokers, most people in general don't know that 1031s are largely unregulated. So we have the highest level of security and protections in the industry. We're a Fortune 500 company. We hold funds in segregated commercial bank accounts. So in an industry that's largely unregulated, where a lot of money has been lost in the last dozen years by other qualified intermediaries, clients can always rest easy with us knowing that their money is safe and secure.
Awesome. And that is something that I had no idea about, which it kind of answers this next set of questions. Why would someone work with you or with your company? Obviously the protection is huge. And that for all investments, I think a lot of people get caught up in this idea of cash flow, right? Everyone's looking at the bottom line, but that bottom line, that cash flow, those dollars don't matter if you lose them.
Correct.
It's a huge thing for people to pay attention to with their investments because, like you said, money gets lost all the time, every day, for all kinds of reasons.
Yep, absolutely.
So, obviously, protection is huge. I like you, but why would someone else want to work with you?
Yeah, so great question. I like that question. Yes, safety and security is paramount. As we just talked about, you can't roll the dice. And there's a lot of great qualified intermediaries out there. I would just say, if you have someone you like, look at their insurance policies. Make sure that they have the protections in place. I'm very accessible. Clients know that they can always call or text or email on the weekends, and I'll get back to them. I always make time for our clients, and they all have my cell phone number. So if there's ever issues, I'm always available to chat and at least call them back or email them back as soon as I can. So that's where I like to hang my hat personally.
Yeah, and it's a big deal. Like you mentioned, 45 days is not a long time when you're moving around $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million.
Yep.
That's a really, really small window. So knowing that I could call you, email you, text you, whatever, say, Kyle, where are we at? I think I'm looking at this property. Here's my contract, and you're, right on top of all that. That's a big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we need to wire earnest money out for clients, and there's a lot of moving parts on our side too. So having someone that's accessible like that is definitely key. Really, even for seasoned exchangers, but for new exchangers, someone to hold their hand, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kyle, do you have I saw that you do seminars. You mentioned that you spend some time doing trainings. Do you have a class, a podcast, anything that people can, listen to you, connect with you, and then how do people get in touch with you if they want to know more?
Yeah, so I don't have a podcast. I've always thought, like, I've seen a couple really awesome ideas, like what you're doing, with the questions and podcasts and stuff. A lot of cool stuff is coming up. I'm not that creative to think of cool stuff like that, so I might take an idea like you're doing and run with it. But right now, I don't have anything like that. I'd like to get classes fired back up. I mean, it's all dependent on the state right now, sooner rather than later. But one, if clients want, if you work with like a group of investors, or you're part of like some investor group, talk to Alex. We can set something up to where we can do like a Zoom webinar for like 30 or 45 minutes. If you just want a one-on-one, they can definitely call me. My cell phone is 425-582-3487, a little plug there. And you can talk to Alex as well. He can pass on all my contact information if you'd like to touch base and just have questions.
Awesome. Kyle, man, I really appreciate your time. The 1031 exchange is a powerful tool, so I'm happy to be able to share some of that information and really help some owners and investors understand that there's another really cool avenue for them to pick up more property.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex. It's always a pleasure to work with you. You're one of the people that make real estate fun to be in.
I appreciate that, Kyle. It's great talking to you.
All right.